Look, you guys know me. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But what if there's more to life? Hello, my fellow hunters, and welcome today as we talk monsters. Not just any monsters. The best monsters, the biggest monsters in terms of their size of presence in my love mind, not their size of body, though there is a big-bodied one that we're going to talk about, and I feel like I'm going really off track here, trying to justify a poor choice of word that I said 40 seconds ago that I'm not going to change or edit or redo, because preparing what you're going to say is for cowards! In any case, with the new year about to be upon us, and indeed, I hope whatever you are doing for, well, I guess right now, or in a little bit, or for this evening, is very much lovely, and 2024 brings you much goodness and much happiness. Especially when for us, 2024 means a long wait, a solemn, vigilant patience, a strength of spirit as we bide our time until 2025 and Monster Hunter Wilds. Or at least until halfway through this year when we get a little bit more information. And what that information might be, well, presumably it'll be monsters, it'll be new monsters, but it might also be returning monsters. And on that front, it has been too long since I have properly sat down, thought about, and enshrined my 5 favorite monsters. These that, if any of them made it into Wilds, I would be over the moon, but just knowing they exist makes me plenty happy too. So without further ado then, Number 5.
Malzeno, hello, no longer blood-sucking foe. Primordial and cordial, existence allegorical, no more I will. Walk with the curious, so either help me, befriend me, or I'll end thee. Send me to the depths of hell, where archdemon dwell. Watch my power swell as I break the spell. It's the end of sunbreak, it's been great. But one final fight, test your might, for this white knight will go screaming into the night, a last flight to end the kingdom's plight.
Oh yes, Malzeno. Oh, well, actually, not Malzeno. Malzeno. Primordial Malza, yes. I have decided that one does not need to choose base forms of monsters for your favorite monsters, because all of the subspecies, variants, deviants, and other some such alternate ways of existing are monsters in their own right and carry with them a uniqueness that the base form may not have, and without that uniqueness, they're just not quite it for you. And while I adore Malzeno, in fact, Malzeno would probably squeak into my top 10, and if you're interested, by the way, something like Nergigante and Namiel would also be in my top 10 if we were to extend that far, but I think the most interesting little tidbit for you is if we were to go to my top 10 and give 5 extra slots, we would actually reach a frontier monster in the form of Bogabadarumu, because I just can't get over how much I love him. There's just something about this weird coral lizard with his jowls that reminds me of a pair of tegus that I used to own that I had to give up, sadly, and I still miss them. But beyond that, he's just this silly, quirky, explode. Like, I don't know what it is, but for some reason, the final properly new monster frontier added to me is their best work, which I guess makes sense, but his kind of beautiful blue mist, the explosions that come from it, you could see him in something like the Coral Highlands if World was still back the main thing that was happening, but hey, maybe Wilds might have a similar aquatic environment, but in any case, just wanted to point that out because I thought you might find it interesting. Now to stop hijacking Primordial Malzeno's entry, sorry about that, buddy. Anyway, yes, I really cannot get over how much I love Primordial Malzeno. Firstly, his story interactions interwoven into Sunbreak is excellent. This defender of the kingdom, this white knight vibe, this slayer of demons who'll descend into the abyss and slay Gogmazios, put a stop to the Curios, and stand tall. The reality is it's a territory dispute he would like to win, and then you have, well, normal Malzeno that isn't normal Malzeno, because Primordial is normal Malzeno, so technically I'm not even choosing a variant here because Malzeno is the variant and Primordial Malzeno is the base species. And that's such a cool flip on its head that, yes, I talked about and predicted would happen, which I'm quite happy with, but it's still awesome to see it actually be so. That these Malzeno can fall from grace and become, well, the red corrupted selves, and then the super red corrupted form that Primordial Malzeno ends up in throughout his fight, seeing him change and slowly give into the Curio once more. What an incredible bit of storytelling throughout the hunt. His moveset is intense but fair. He is a perfect final challenge to cap off the final entry into the 5th generation before Wilds, and everything about him is just amazing, and I am really, really impressed with his design, his hunt, his lore, everything, and it's been a long time since a new monster has actually done that for me. Or, I guess perhaps it's not been a long time, because number 4...
If you go down to the woods today, you'll sure get a big surprise. If you go down to the woods today, I'll put my sword between your eyes.
Goss Harag. Look, what can I say? There's still just something about it. When I try and think of my favorite monsters, I go through every monster I like Gogmazios, which would still make a top 10 appearance, so I guess you've got like 4 out of 5 of them at this point, and I have to see how it makes me feel at the moment, you know, that little instinct it gives me, like, yeah, there's something about it. And every time Goss Harag comes up, I get that. The fact that he can just dual-wield massive ice greatswords, of course, is incredible. The fact that the bear's got a big threat in Rise is incredible. The fact that he was wronged by not getting an extra version in Sunbreak will forever make me stand up and defend him, and by God, do I hope that these bears in Wilds aren't a new monster, but a new version of Goss Harag that can make, like, hardened sand blades. That would be perfect. But the point is, having this brutal kind of killer bear with his stun, execution, unique attack too, making this various ice weaponry fighting on 2 feet but also all 4s, he really does feel powerful and dominating without being massive, without being too fast. He's just a force, and he is a pleasure to fight. He's one of those hunts that has a rhythm to it that, especially with Greatsword, especially with base Rise Greatsword, but still Sunbreak Greatsword too, flows spectacularly. And the biggest compliment I can give a monster is, if I want to hunt a monster so that I can have a really good hunt and feel really good at this game, who am I going to choose? Well, in World and in Iceborne it was Nergigante, and in Rise and Sunbreak it was Goss Harag, because that's how familiar I got with their moveset and how much it clicked with me, and that is glorious. Next up then, at number 3.
I'm Lord Cockabove, and I know you all love all I am, all I do. The end of for you too. A superheated tar beam, not to be mean, but to come clean. All I need is some gunpowder chowder, and I'll go. First Dragonator in tow, take to the air and whoa. Giant in the sky, largest monster to fly. The shadow of my wingman step to everything down below. So, how far will you go to stand in my way? How odd to think a hunter could stop a god.
Yes, the largest flying monster in all of Monster Hunter, the final boss of 4 Ultimate, he who stole the original Dragonator that you can cleave it off his back and use it against him, which is just a phenomenal little moment in the fight that really says a lot, and everything about him is great, from his sad little chin face all the way to his sticky tarry body and disintegrating laser beam. is mighty, majestic, and imposing, and to this day I still think is the largest monster that you have a proper fight against. Perhaps tied with Safi'jiiva, who also feels like a proper fight and not so much a spectacle for the sake of it, though Safi, of course, is a little bit smaller. There is still just something about Gogmazios that I feel like was way ahead of his time, and out of all end bosses, he's the one I would bring back to get a modern coat of paint, because imagine how good his tar shenanigans would look if they got the chance to shine once more. He is our Lord Gog above, and it's almost just wrong to not praise him on a list like this. Then, at number 2, Night Cloak Malfestio. Yes, not normal Malfestio, though I do adore all Malfestios. I adore owls, I adore this monster, I adore how it looks, I adore how it fights, I adore its tricks. But Nightcloak specifically, its deviant... Oh, I hope if they ever bring Malfestio back, they just bake Nightcloak moves into it, and that is the new base Malfestio, and I would be very happy. Because Nightcloak takes everything that it is and turns it up. Not least of which is just the fact that it gives its wings this red hue. The roar of a Malfestio with the wings splayed, shaking, the eyes glowing, the beat, it just... it's one of my best raw poses in all of Monster Hunter, and yes, that is a meaningful metric to judge monsters on. But I will always argue that the most unique monster that exists in all of Monster Hunter is Malfestio. He is unlike anything else. He is the only proper bird wyvern. He steals from you, which is something very few monsters can do. He goes invisible, which is something very few monsters can do. He puts you to sleep, which is something very few monsters can do. And he reverses your controls, which is something only he can do, and something I would love to see come back as a mechanic because it's so hilarious. In Wilds, imagine if you got blasted by the control reversal and it, well, ruined your hunter, but you could get on the mount and the mount is fine because it's not been hit, so you can run around normally while you recover. Statuses that involve your mount to repair them, I think, is a glorious idea. And Nightcloak Malfestio has all of the tricks to make for an incredible encounter no matter where, when, and how, and I simply adore his existence, and honestly I could do an entire video talking about him, and I have been kind of inspired by looking at this list and thinking about the monsters I like to start looking back into my lore series and kicking it back up as a sort of lead-up celebration to Wilds, so let me know what you think of that. In at number 1 then... best theme in all of Monster Hunter, and yes, I really do mean that. Raging Brachydios. Yes, I can't deny that I love raging so much more than normal Brachydios, despite normal Brachydios likely taking that final spot in the other 5, if this was to be 10, that I have to give it specifically to him because of Iceborne. Pre-Iceborne, raging and normal were very equal to me, but post-Iceborne, to my mind, the single greatest encounter that Monster Hunter has done. And it's really kind of not close. Oh, well, that's not fair. There were some spectacular ones in Sunbreak, like the primordial Malzeno fight, but that final zone that you're trapped in here, no restocking, which I love, and I hope restocking isn't a thing in Wilds. I just really think you should have to work with what you bring. The prep of a hunter is everything. That theme song blaring, the sound of his ignition roar just shivering through you as the land itself pops in slimy goodness all around. Oh, he's challenging, he's beautiful, he made for an incredible fight with incredible equipment. His color scheme is gorgeous, the orangey slime with a more dark blackened shell. I mean, I don't need to tell you at this point how much I love Brachydios, Raging Brachydios. It is well known, it has been my favorite since, well, as long as I can remember, and likely as long as you guys can remember me talking about it too. I just think that Raging Brachydios is the closest thing in Monster Hunter that I would call a straight-up masterpiece of encounter design, and I am so glad we all got to experience it in Iceborne. I love him to bits. So, there you go. That is my current top 5. It's so hard doing these because not only can I, really struggle to put everything in the order that I'm happy with and choose, I could talk about each of these monsters for about an hour straight. Every little detail about them, both in-game and without, and, restraining myself so you're not sat here listening to me for 7 hours is perhaps the greatest challenge. But I am happy with my selection, and I can't wait to see how it changes both over the next year and in Wilds, if indeed at all. But I have faith it most certainly, or at least one of the spots will go to a Wilds monster. The mount's already, giving me that look. Like, if you've enjoyed this then, let me know your own favourites and your thoughts on mine. Subscribe and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below. And until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.